Hello and welcome to the new video. Today we want to take a look at a team that might seem familiar to you if you follow my channel already for a little bit, because I think I made a video around 2 weeks ago for the same team, but in the Open Great League. This is my favorite team. Of course, if you're not following me yet, feel free to do so. Would really appreciate it. Here we're going to have some friendly battles against some viewers of mine, some people from Twitter here that are also running only non-legendary Pokemon for the Master League, so we can take a look at the meta that we're going to encounter later on today. If you have not seen the video yesterday as well for the top teams for this meta, definitely check it out as well here on my channel. So going to be linked in the end card anyway, so you don't have to click away. Otherwise, we're going to take a look here at a team that is very similar to a team that I used in the Great League, and is honestly my favorite team in the Great League, which is Shadow Magnezone as a lead. The Saysop is going to be the Annihilate, and in the back we're going to have the Gyarados here, which is of course an homage basically towards the main talent that I usually use for this team. So it's basically the exact same team that I used in the Open Great League, but in the Master League. Here was kind of unfortunate that I didn't get the move off. I think this was just because the game lagged a little bit there, which is of course something that happens quite often recently. I know if it's the same for you, but I have crazy lag issues the last 2 days for the game. But it is what it is. Here we're going to be able to go for a mirror shot. We're going to get them low. We can knock them out with the Annihilate, and they're going to have a Conkeldurr in the back, which we're going to be able to completely destroy. Honestly, I was a little bit shocked, which I did not really expect too much, on how strong the Annihilate really is for this meta. This is the first time Annihilate is a warrant for this meta, and definitely it is one of the best Pokemon that you can play here. This thing is so overpowered. Here we're going to be able to farm down, and let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to have here the Metagross in the lead. Amazing lead for us with our Shadow Magnezone. We kind of want to stay in here. We can go ahead and go for a Wild Charge, and then we can also swap out if we want to, or we're gonna farm them down depending on what you kind of feel like. Here I decided to swap out into my Annihilate. You really need to keep your lead alive, by the way. If you encounter what's called like something like a Fairy type Pokemon in the back, you kind of really need to still keep your lead alive. So here we decided to swap out into the Annihilate, and here's one thing that I also talked about in the top team video, that Snorlax has a little bit of an issue in this meta. If you're not running something like an Outrage or an Earthquake on this Pokemon, I feel like Outrage does make a lot of sense right now, because you're going to have struggles against the Annihilate, especially of course if you get the boost here, which is kind of great for us. But in general, Annihilate is going to be able to resist, or like double resist, both of the opponent's charge moves here, and so we can just knock them out, align ourselves, which is super important as they're going to run the Greninja in the back. We can nearly actually sweep the opponent here just with the Annihilate. You see the damage output off counter, of course a double buff counter here against a Greninja, which is kind of a squishy Pokemon, is going to chunk quite a bit, and we will see here that they're sadly still surviving. I really wanted to have a full sweep of Annihilate, but it is what it is. We can see the Night Stage coming through, going to knock us out, but the Magnezone is going to clean up this battle. So let's take a look at the next opponent. Here we're going to have a lovely lead. We're going to have the Togekiss, and they swap out into the Snorlax. As said before, all the energy they're going to store up here is going to be completely wasted against the Annihilate. And so what we can do is we can go for a Wild Charge, and we can just swap out. And honestly, I should just farm them all the way down here. Not going to go for a charge move at all, because as we can see here now, Body Slam is not going to do anything. If they had Outrage, they would still not knock us out or anything like this, but at least they would be able to do some damage against me. But like this, we can just take this superpower here as well. It doesn't really matter. And we have a ton of energy, we have alignment, we have a ton of damage now against the opponent's Togekiss, which is going to put them also in range, where we can just go for an awkward heal most likely sooner or later with our Gyarados, and we can even maybe try to bait a potential shield here. Let's see if the opponent is going to fall for it, because we would not be able to reach the Shadow Ball. They don't, but it doesn't really matter, as they're going to have the Hexorus in the back. Swapping out immediately into the Gyarados, allowing us to completely destroy the opponent's Hexorus here as well. It's going to be a great matchup for us, but they're getting a little bit lucky here. They're going to get the attack drop immediately. It's a 50% chance with a Breaking Swipe nowadays to drop the opponent's attack. Crunch getting through is going to be able to get the defense drop though, which is kind of unlucky for us, and they are going to be able to get another attack drop. So basically every odds we were able to hit so far, which is kind of wild, but doesn't really matter because we are still going to be able to take a move from the opponent. I was forced to basically no shield here, because if Togekiss gets too much energy, they can go for something like a Flamethrower or the Aura Sphere against our Steel type, but like this we can just go for the knockout with one more mirror shot here, and this is going to be it for this game. Let's move on to the next opponent. Let's see what they're going to run. Magnezone against Magnezone in the lead. This is actually a lead that I kind of really don't like, because you have to stay in here, you kind of have to still play it out, And I decided to go straight for the wild charge here, as the opponent is going to also go for their own charge move, which is really annoying that I won the CMP tie. Here you kind of want to lose the CMP tie, because if you lose the CMP tie, you can let the move go through. Well, like this, you're going to be forced to use a shield against a mirror shot. It is not really ideal. I can still go for my own wild charge and going to be able to force a shield from the opponent. I decided to swap out now because I can actually counter them down. No matter what they're going to do here, this counter is going to be able to connect and knock them out, and I'm going to keep my shield rather for whatever is in the back here, because as you're going to see here, it is going to be a Gyarados which is coming in, and this is going to be very, very good for our lead of the Magna Zone, as basically a 1 volt, which is all it takes to knock them out. We kind of should have actually waited out the clock a little bit here, but I'm going to actually decide to even let this move go through, because I know I can still take a hit here, which is going to be fine. And I expect that they're going to have the same team as I have, and they do. And so it's now going to be the Annihilate. I think it's the best buddy variant from the opponent against my own Gyarados. And this is going to be a tough matchup. I don't know who's going to be able to win this one, because Annihilate, honestly, is such a strong Pokemon in this meta, doing so much damage. I was hoping that they would go for the bait. They decided to go for the Shadow Ball instead. And so we're going to be in range for 1 Night Slash, but they have to get to 2 basically here. We're going to see the Aqua Tail coming through from our Gyarados. This is going to be able to get a ton of damage onto them, but it's not going to be enough. They're going to get to 2 charge moves now, and sadly we're going to lose this game here. Or do we? We can actually still get the farm down, we can move on to the next opponent. Annihilate in the lead. Pretty much one of the worst possible leads, because you're forced to swap into your own Annihilate and hope that they swap out, which they decide to do here. And I decided to go for the bait. I decided to go for the Night Slash. I know that you need to hit 1 Shadow Ball and a Night Slash in order to knock out the Gyarados anyway. And so what I decided to do is I tried to just go for the boost here, which I didn't get, which is fine. I can take a move, like no matter what it is going to be, unless it's going to be a Hydro Pump, which nobody is going to run. We're going to be fine here. We can go for the Shadow Ball, and this is going to be able to connect, and we're gonna see now that we can align ourselves. Alignment is super important. Our backline, our Gyarados is going to be fine against the opponent's Annihilate, but we have to kind of align our Pokemon correctly, so let's see what the opponent's going to swap back into. They're swapping into a Golden Go, and this is very scary. They're running Astonish on this Pokemon as well, which is going to make this quite a tough Pokemon to deal with, because I do quite a lot of fast move damage. I'm forced, of course, to go into my Magna Zone, as they're going to have the Annihilate, and I was like, yeah, I have to hope that the opponent is deciding to use a shield now against my bait of Mirror Shot, because otherwise there's not a lot that I can do here really. And so they decide to no shield. They're gonna get the attack drop, which is kind of nice, but they're gonna decide to swap out now into the Annihilate, catching a move, catching a wild charge. And also this is going to allow us to go back into our Gyarados, which is gonna be able to go for 1 charge move prior. They're kind of forced to go for a shield here, I would imagine, and they do exactly this, and this is going to be great for us, because now all of a sudden we have a scenario where we're most likely going to be able to farm them down here before they can go for like anything hard hitting, and they actually don't even get to any charge move. And we can try to go for a crunch, but I kind of was like, yeah, maybe I don't get there in time, so I decided to rather go for the safe damage. Aqua Tail coming through. They can still go for a charge move, but it doesn't matter. 1 more Volt Switch, all it takes to knock them out. And this was a very tough matchup, a very close game, but it didn't matter because we can still win. Next opponent, we're going to have a Magna Zone in the lead. This is going to be again a very tough matchup for us, as it kind of comes down to who wins CMP tie. Like we have a Hundo, the opponent I think also has one, but the opponent decided to swap out now into a Garchomp. This is going to be great for us because we kept our energy on our other Pokemon. I can decide to let this move go through. It's going to be the Outrage from the Garchomp, as we can try to reach another charge move here. It's going to be the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to connect, is going to be able to do some decent damage, as we can try to reach for another one, but it's going to be a CMP tie. At this point, I decide I'm gonna let this move go through. They cannot swap into their Magna Zone against our fighter, so we're gonna see whatever they have in the bag anyway. And yeah, we're going to see what it's going to be, and we have some energy on our other Pokemon anyway. It's going to be a Dragonite. And now you're gonna see me not even gonna go up to the Shadow Ball. Why? Because I wanted to bait them, and that they might think that I have the Ice Punch, which works out perfectly here. And so I can swap out. I was waiting if I would get the boost or not, which I didn't, but it's fine. We can go for another Mirror Shot, which was a little bit of a silly play because they decided to let this move go through. Should have went straight for the Wild Charge, to be fair. Like, this was definitely a misplay by me. But we can still maybe yeah, still kind of have a chance here at least. We're going to see that the opponent goes for the mirror shot. They're going to get no attack drop here, which is kind of important. As we will see, the opponent went for an extra fast move, and I have 2 wild charges stored. First one coming through, second one coming through as the opponent decides to go for another fast move here somehow. And so we're going to be in range where 1 mirror shot is going to be enough to knock us out, and they still decide to go for it. So I am forced to use a shield against the potential wild charge here that's coming through as well. Let's see if it's going to be the case. It is going to be the wild charge, and so what we can see is that the opponent is going to only have the Dragonite in the back. Is a Shadow Ball enough to knock them out? Let's find out here together. It is going to connect, and it is going to be enough, and we can win this game. Honestly, Anni definitely MVP for this team. Second place, I would actually go for Magnezone, and third place for the Gyarados. But so far, all of them perform really well. Like, I would really recommend you to try out this team. This team looks like a lot of fun. This team is a lot of fun, especially if you have a Pokemon like Gyarados that can take anything from a Metagross. I have to say, like I also said basically in the top team video, I feel like Metagross is going to not really have a lot of play in the current meta, even though there are going to be quite a lot of Fairy type Pokemon that are just better Pokemon for this, as the current meta has quite a lot of Gyarados, something like the Magnezone going to have a little bit more play in this meta. Here we're going to see that they're actually even going to run the Awkward Tail variant of the Gyarados, allowing us to go for a crunch, allowing us to get some debuffs on them. And we can also win the CMP tie. Everything goes kind of against the opponent right now. And so I can let this move go through. It is going to be the crunch, which is going to knock me out. Totally fine. I can go back into my Magnezone. I can just go for the mirror shot immediately. I was just trying to fish for the debuff, which did not work out, but I got a shield, which is even better for me. And so I can just stay in, go ahead and get some extra energy again and swap out now into my Annihilate. So now let's find out how much a Dragon Claw is going to do here, because I'm going to let this move go through. Actually, not as much, and looking at this, I know that I can survive another one, and knowing about the damage that we did prior already with the Shadow Ball against the opponent's Dragonite, I was fairly certain that this is going to not knock them out, but get them fairly low, and so they have to use a shield. And I have a Magnezone here, and I see that the opponent tries to swap, and so Wild Charge is all it is that we need to hit against the opponent's Dragonite to knock them out, and so we win with 2 shields remaining. Final battle, honestly, this is going to be more of a meme battle, to be fair. They have like so much random stuff built for the Open Master League that is Shadow apparently. As you're gonna see here, a Shadow Gengar would be also cool maybe to showcase. I don't think it's actually a good Pokemon, so maybe not. But yeah, Shadow Gengar is also a cool Pokemon here for sure for this meta. We're going to see the Sludge Bomb coming through. Shielding a Sludge Bomb on a Steel type might be a little bit embarrassing, but look at the energy that we got out of it, so I guess it was kind of worth it. Let's see who's going to come back in here. It is going to be a Darmanitan, and I don't even get the move off because this was not an Incinerate one. It is going to be a Fire Fang one. I feel like Fire Fang might be better for raids, but Incinerate is clearly better for PvP. But having an XL Darmanitan build as a Shadow is kind of wild, I have to say. I know that they run Rock Slide, of course, but I know also that it's going to be an Electric type still lurking there, so I'd rather keep my shield for my Annihilate, as we can go for the Shadow Ball, which is going to now be able to do a ton of damage against them, enough to kind of put them into counter down range. And so this is going to be it for this video. This team was absolutely amazing. I would really recommend you to try this team out later on when this cup is going to be live. The normal Magnezone is also totally fine, so don't worry about this. And that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.